Major loss for the music world and a local community. We're learning more today about the murder of Grammy-nominated rapper Nipsey Hussle.
He was killed outside his clothing shop in the neighborhood he was helping to build back up. CBS 2's Cara Finstrom is live at his shop in Hyde Park, where fans are continuing to pay their respects this morning. Cara?
Big crowds, Suzanne, and this community wants the killer found. There have been rumors circulating. So a short while ago, community leaders held a news conference here asking on everyone to be patient, to allow detectives to fully investigate.
There are many cameras, many videos here. LAPD has a lot to work with. There is another individual who was shot who is not in grave condition. He too has been talking to the community members about what he saw.
Area leaders say, sadly, violence is a problem in this district with too many people losing their lives. They say Nipsey Hussle didn't flee from it. Instead, he embraced the area where he grew up and had hoped to be part of a solution.
This whole area is changing, and with him giving and being a part of it, it made a lot of young people really proud.
Dawn Lett wore her Crenshaw shirt from Nipsey Hussle's store as this community paid tribute just outside it. Yesterday afternoon, a gunman opened fire here, wounding 2 men and killing Hussle. The outpouring of love started almost immediately, with huge crowds bringing candles and flowers. Fans say the Grammy-nominated rapper first inspired them as an artist.
Grammy-nominated in the sign of shedding tears.
To not have that day-to-day inspiration, just to look forward to what he's coming out with, what is he gonna say? What is he speaking on that speaks to us? It's just a very sad day.
And once Hussle achieved musical success, his neighbors say he started giving back.
He just bought this entire plaza. You know, with this community is going through heavy gentrification right now. He was, representing, black ownership, young black entrepreneurship, black ownership. And, that was important. It was bigger than music. He's buying real estate, really setting an example.
Hussle also started a tech training center to try and bridge the gap between the inner city and Silicon Valley. And tragically, Hussle's death came one day before a meeting he called with LAPD's leaders to talk about curbing gang violence. The 33-year-old recently spoke with our Pat Harvey about growing up around gangs and wanting to let young people know there are other opportunities.
I never met a $100 million drug dealer. It's plenty billion-dollar hip-hop brands. There's a lot of things that are more profitable than drugs, but they're not as glorified and they're not as accessible to us.
Police have not yet talked about a possible motive. Hussle leaves behind 2 children, his longtime girlfriend, Lauren London, and a devastated community.
For whatever reason this happened, it's a tragedy. There's no win in this. We lost.
And adding to the tragedy, just a half hour before his death, Hussle tweeted saying, "Having strong enemies is a blessing." Back here live, Peter, Suzanne, I did speak with the Police Commission President, Steve Soboroff, very briefly this morning. He says there still will be some kind of a meeting late this afternoon to talk about the violence.
It is getting bigger and bigger as the day goes on. People are walking up across Crenshaw, bringing flowers, balloons, anything they have to pay tribute to this man who, in many, many ways, was an icon in this community.
This was not a chance encounter. We don't think that this was a sudden engagement. The individual, we are pursuing a number of investigative leads. We're looking at video evidence. We're looking to identify a vehicle.
But no suspect in custody. When I asked LAPD Chief Michael Moore, was this a gang-related shooting? He didn't give a yes or no answer. I
think the person who's responsible for this, people involved in this, they know who they are and they're watching this right now. And I'd ask them to surrender and turn themselves in.
You think the shooter knew him?
I believe so, yes.
Chief, why would he be a target, though? Any idea?
Our investigation will determine that. Whether this was, what drove this senseless act.
Directly above the ever-growing memorial where Nipsey Hussle was killed are 3 security cameras pointing directly at the scene. Is this murder captured on video? Is the shooting on video?
No more, nothing is out. Thank you, guys.
And then he walked away. He wouldn't say yes or no if the 2 other men shot who were next to Hussle were his bodyguards, only that their wounds are not life-threatening. And he did say that the suspect left the scene in a car. This is a freeze frame of security camera video obtained by TMZ, which shows at least 2 people running from the scene. The chief wouldn't say if there were 2 suspects at large.
What makes this especially tragic is last year It was the lowest number of homicides we've ever seen in South Los Angeles and the safest year that we've ever seen in the South Bureau.
The mayor voicing his concern this morning over the alarming number of shootings and murders in Los Angeles this past week alone. 26 people were shot, 10 were killed, including Hussle, in the last 7 days.
We're trying to understand the underlying motives and some to try to make sense of it. I don't know that we'll make sense of it.
Crenshaw and Slauson, to be specific, a block that he recently bought and was turning his life around and the life of many others. And then came Sunday. And now the question, who did it and why? Again, a look view from the drone above this crowd at the corner of Crenshaw and Slauson. They have shut down this intersection, so if you have any business other than wanting to come over here and pay your respects, I suggest you stay away from the area. They are not letting cars anywhere near here. It is a long, long walk. There's a very strong police presence. Back now on the ground. Now, it's so ironic that Hussle was supposed to meet today with the chief and the president of the police commission, Mr. Steve Soboroff. That meeting was scheduled for 4 o'clock in the chief's office. The subject was how to curtail gang activity in South Los Angeles. Hussle wanted to do some good. That meeting was postponed because his family members want to attend, so that was put off for a couple of weeks. Again, tomorrow morning, the chief is supposed to address many issues. They are actively looking for whoever may have done this. Maybe he'll have an announcement, maybe not. But at 8:30, we should know more about where this investigation stands. Reporting now live from the Hyde Park area of Los Angeles, I'm Dave.
This is the Marathon store. They're in there right now. That's serious. Store closed, online only right now. It's only online only right now. It's crazy, man.
Over the years, as Nip got more successful, got better at rap, I went back and forth to prison. He continued to move on, develop a team with his dad, a family-orientated business. The clothing line, the Marathon, his life is a marathon, a run a lap. So that was Nipsey's slogan. Basically, he was a friend. He was like a son. He was even like a dad. I was with him till he left to the ambulance. I was holding him all the way until he was breathing all the way. When he left me, he was still breathing. So I witnessed a lot of death over the years. He was fighting. He was still in and out of consciousness. He was still, I felt he had a good chance. But it was still like a 50-50. But believe me, he was fighting hard. He was fighting hard. He was fighting hard. He impacted the world, not just the community, the world. The people he helped me to the point where I can help other people. And through me, they can help somebody. We're all close-knit. I mean, from the people pushing baskets to the Chinese people at the store, whoever. This community right here, we all know each other. We all function. If my little corner could do it on Slauson and Crenshaw, I know y'all could do it.
He's an innovator.
Otherworldly. Legendary.
Leader.
Just love. He loved everybody. Love. That's it. It's love.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Appreciate it.
Gun violence has taken the life of Los Angeles rapper Nipsey Hussle. Police say the 33-year-old was shot multiple times outside of his clothing store yesterday by a young man who then ran to a waiting getaway car.
The Grammy-nominated rapper's death sparked an outpour of tributes from fans and celebrities. ET Live host Lauren Zima joins us over the phone to talk about Hussle's sudden death. So Lauren, thanks for joining us. We know Nipsey Hussle was shot in front of his clothing store in L.A. But for people who didn't know about him, tell us a bit more about who he was as an artist.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I think what's so incredibly tragic and sort of shocking here, and that's especially why the celebrity community is responding so strongly, is that he is someone who was just hitting the real stride in his career. He was 33 years old, but he'd actually just released his full debut album, and it got nominated for Best Rap Album at the Grammys just this year. And he was starting to collaborate with these incredible people. He'd done some collaborations before. He was certainly known in the industry, but, you know, John Legend tweeted that he just filmed something with him a couple of days ago. Drake Instagrammed that they had plans to work together soon. So he had so much coming up, and he was just hitting this big moment at 33. So I think that's why it's hitting people so hard. And also, he had earned this reputation as someone who, at a really young age, was already giving back to his community in incredible ways. He was shot at this store he owned, but along with being a local business owner in Los Angeles where he'd grown up, he had started this center where he said he wanted to bridge the gap between Silicon Valley and the inner city. It was a co-working space. He wanted people to come there and get ideas generated. He had plans to meet, a matter of hours after his death, he had plans to meet with local officials and speak about how to get inner city kids pulled up out of violence. So he was someone who, at this age of 33, was sort of, on the one hand, just hitting the stride in his career. And, you know, a lot of people in the music industry might hit that stride a little younger than that. But then also at 33, at kind of a young age, was already becoming this incredible activist in his community. So he had a reputation for being someone who really was doing things beyond his years for locals and for change, and it's just really hitting people hard for that reason.
Yeah, and to add to sort of the sad irony of this is he was scheduled, I believe it was today, to meet with the police commissioner and talk to him about ways to stop gang violence in his community. So we have an investigation is ongoing now. We know that there was an individual that shot him, and at least what we've heard is ran into a getaway car that was waiting. What more do we know about this investigation?
Honestly, at this point, we don't know much more. We do know that this had been part of a recent surge of violence in the area. The chief of police here in L.A. Tweeted that over the past week there had been something like a couple dozen shootings and at least 10 homicides locally. So this is coming after, actually, the past couple years of violence in L.A. and gang violence in L.A. going down. Gang violence had been down by about 20% over the past year or two. So there was a decrease, but then, you know, the chief of police is tweeting that over the past week there's been this sort of frightening surge, actually. So I think that this investigation is maybe speaking to part of a larger look that they're really taking into what's going on here. And, you know, Nipsey Hussle was not shy. In fact, he was incredibly open about his own past involvement in the gang world. He had been very involved in a gang that he said was kind of one of the strongest Crip groupings in the LA area. He was open about it. He spoke to media about it and to the LA Times about it. And his own past, obviously, was why he wanted to change things for future generations. He said that growing up here in LA, he lived in one of the worst areas, and he described his childhood as like living in a war zone. He said he'd be riding his bike and he'd get shot at. He said murder was part of his everyday situation that he saw and that he experienced. So he had grown up in that. He wasn't ashamed about having experienced it, and he was working to change it.
You know, Lauren, he was nominated for a Grammy with his last album, Victory, and we just put up a graphic showing all of these artists who are just devastated by this news. His music, did that translate to the life that he had led and the life that he was hoping to lead?
His past, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that he, like I said, he wasn't ashamed of it. He talked about it, or maybe I shouldn't say he wasn't ashamed, but he wasn't hiding it. He wasn't hiding his past. And, you could see, you know, it's sort of like this very tattooed guy out on the red carpet. But now living a life with, he had 2 kids. He was in a committed relationship with actress Lauren London, who has not spoken out yet. And obviously this has all happened. I mean, it's really been only about 24 hours, and so we wouldn't necessarily expect her to. I can't imagine what she's going through right now. But, you know, he was someone who also was kind of a bit of a free thinker or someone who's looking at the way that even rap music was gotten to the public in a different way. He drew the attention of Jay-Z and some other people because of the way he was releasing his music. He had released a lot of his music to be downloaded for free, but then what he would do is he would release physical copies in this kind of special collector's edition way, and he could charge up to $100 for a physical copy of his album. So he was changing the game. He was looking at what he'd been through and where he wanted to go and how he wanted to change things for other innovators with doing things like setting up that creative space for, as he said, to kind of merge Silicon Valley and the inner city. So he was someone who'd really come from nothing. He talked about that, how he didn't have the rich uncle or, you know, the connection in the music industry to get his career going, which might speak to why at 33 he was really hitting that stride. He'd worked so hard on his own to get there.
His last tweet, having strong enemies is a blessing. I wonder if he knew of something.
It's so sad and ironic to read that now, isn't it? And it's like we said, it's only the beginning of the investigation, so we'll have to see. But it's, you know, if multiple people were shot, he along with 2 other people, so obviously it's an act of violence of, you know, a kind that seems to have been. It seems like, you know, I would guess it's some kind of a planned attack to have shot multiple people, and we'll see what we can find out from here.
Yeah. Lauren, thank you so much.
Thank you both.
We're going to begin with that breaking news in Los Angeles. A memorial for slain rapper Nipsey Hussle ends in a chaotic stampede after reports of violence breaking out. Hundreds had gathered to pay their respects at the same spot where Hussle was shot and killed yesterday afternoon. Police arrived on scene to control the crowds, but some people started throwing candles at officers. KCBS's aerial photojournalist Stu Mundell describes what went down.
This is one of those scenes where it is difficult. A lot of these people are out here to show their respects, but then also there always is a couple of bad apples. Even in this crowd. Now, LAPD, they have a job to do. They have to keep the people safe.
Right now, our sister station in Los Angeles is reporting that at least 6 people were stabbed. This all happening within the past 2 hours. We'll keep an eye on this and bring you any major developments. Meanwhile, here's a live look at the scene. You can see the crowd has somewhat left, but there seems to be some sort of standoff. There's multiple police cars, and there's still people mulling around right now. Earlier, about 10 minutes ago, we saw a standoff with police and possibly some other people that were attending the memorial. It did look a little tense, but it looks like it is dispersing as of right now from this scene.
Tough few days for Los Angeles. And I want to start by thanking the community and the love that has poured out for Nipsey Hussle. We learned that another young life was cut short by a gun in our city. And the pain of that in a city that's experienced the safest decade in 10 years, by many measures the safest city in America, but a place still, as I've always said, where one death is one too many. Nipsey Hussle was an artist who touched our city and the lives far beyond the City of Angels throughout this country and this world. He was somebody who was a gifted and brilliant artist, an entrepreneur who found global success, who was working closely with this city to help save lives and transform lives even as he was doing that for himself. He was a tireless advocate for the young people of this city and of this world, to lift them up with the possibility of not being imprisoned by where you come from or past mistakes, but the possibility of what comes in the future. And his impact on our city was deep. You'll hear that from Councilmember Marquise Harris-Dawson in a moment. My own office was able to work with him on a number of initiatives to bring more African Americans in the tech industry, to stand up businesses for people who have been involved with the criminal justice system. And the news that we have to share this morning is that the hardworking men of the Los Angeles Police Department, together with the strong relationships we have within the community, have identified the person believed to be responsible for this devastating crime. He is 29-year-old Eric Holder.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor and Chief and officers of the Los Angeles Police Department and all the assembled elected officials and community leaders that are with us today. We lost in South Los Angeles an extremely bright light over this past weekend. Nipsey Hussle is a shining example of the best of what we can be and the best of what it means to seek and carry out a redemptive charge. This is a young man who is the son and grandson of South Los Angeles, both from an immigrant family and from a traditional African-American family, who saw much of the devastation that we all recorded over the 1990s and beyond. As a young person who witnessed this, at some point in his life he made the decision that he was going to be part of the solution, and he was going to lead the charge on the solution, deciding and taking a very firm stance that he lived out, that if South Los Angeles is to ever have what it deserves, if the community is ever to be treated the way it should be treated, that we had to own and build it for ourselves. And he spent the last half dozen years trying to carry out that vision while he built a very successful music career. And so his gift and his insistence on us living our best life went from the highest level to developing really 3 strong organizations and businesses in South Los Angeles to the lowest level. And so there were many occasions where I stood with him on that very parking lot and was fascinated by the fact that the small business owner next door knew him by first name, as well as the person struggling with addiction or homelessness knew him by his first name and had watched him grow up. And so it is a dear loved one that we have lost, and a demonstration of the very true moray that none of us are safe until all of us are safe. One of Nipsey's most well-known songs says, "Bullets don't have names, and as long as they're flying, all of us are in danger." And so we continue to celebrate his legacy, and we ask the community to do so in a way that is consistent with his story, consistent with his gift, and consistent with his promise. At the same time, I would also echo the comments of the mayor, and I know the chief will talk about this later. We have an uptick of violence in South Los Angeles, gun violence in particular. Again, it is not off the charts, or it is not like things that we've seen in years past, certainly not in decades past. But Nipsey is an example for all of us that any life lost is a life too many. And so we ask everybody to work together, to stand together, and to fight together to create the kind of streets and communities that we deserve to live in, where people can live out their highest and best potentials. Thank you all so much.
So I had a personal experience that was quite sad, quite upsetting, and quite angry. I went through my emails yesterday, and I found the original email requesting from Nipsey and Rock Nation, requesting to me to set up a meeting with the chief, and I'm going to read it to you. This was dated February 26th. Our goal is to, was sent to me, our goal is to work with the department to help improve communication, relationships, and work towards changing the culture and dialogue between LAPD and the inner city. We want to hear about your new programs and your goals for the department, as well as how we can help stop gang violence and help you help kids. So it takes time to set up meetings. We did. It was set up for yesterday. And the chief called me on Sunday and told me, this was 15 minutes after, that Nipsey Hussle had been assassinated and murdered. I was ready for the meeting. I was excited about the meeting. Here was somebody coming in to say, how can we help? How can we be a partner? So Sunday morning, I took out my clothes for Monday. What is this called? Save the Children tie. It's all ready to go. And then I got the chief's call. And then I started getting other calls, so I put out a note out of respect, saying that, you know, here, this horrible thing happened one day before we were going to have this meeting. Why couldn't we have had the meeting the day before instead of the day after? And you get 10, 12 people criticize, but to date, on the email, people that have got in contact, looked at this, believe in building bridges, 4 million people. 4,015,000 people. So the meeting will happen. It will happen when Rock Nation and Nipsey's family will come together. And I promise you, whether from the upper levels of this or from the bottom level of this, that I want to help do what he wanted to do. And he wanted us to do that. And so did these 4 million people who've contacted me.
Thank you. Finally, Chief Moore will brief the context about this killing as well as crime in South Los Angeles right now, particularly in 77th Division and nearby, and then we'll answer your questions. Chief Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Supervisor, Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson, Councilman Rodriguez, our community and faith leaders that are with us today, our command staff. We join, as does all of Los Angeles, in a somber day in the aftermath of another senseless homicide of an individual who posed such an opportunity to step into a conversation to help this city work its way through a sickness, a challenge, a seemingly tragic love affair with gun violence. Today's conversation is a broader context because there's moments in time that you have as individuals, whether it be a chief or a police officer or a member of the media or faith leaders, that you look down on a message or you hear a call and you just find it so, like, you take a second guess or you take a second look. Sunday afternoon was that for me. Sunday afternoon, this department in the last 3 months had seen an error where last year we saw the second fewest number of homicides in this city in more than 50 years. We saw a reduction in overall violent and Part 1 crime. We saw 35 fewer gang-related homicides and 59 fewer gang-related shootings. But yet, as I had reported approximately 2 to 3 weeks ago, we began seeing an increase in gang-related violence and in shooting violence that was starting to trend in a manner that was causing us concerns. And as an organization that looks at its safety across this community each day and works to align its resources to identify those locations that need us most, and we partner with our community coalitions, the Watts Gang Task Force. I was yesterday at the Baptist Ministers Conference, at our GRID, Intervention and Prevention Resources. Sunday afternoon, we had those all in play because we had seen a week of violence that even took what we saw in the first couple weeks of March to a higher level, particularly in South Los Angeles. Last Wednesday, we met with the coalition where we talked about, while we'd seen an overall reduction in violence, still fewer homicides, more than 300 fewer 300 fewer victims of violent crime. We had seen a recent increase in shooting violence in South Los Angeles, in 77th, and particularly impacting African American men. And it was causing us growing concerns, and we needed those coalitions, those faith leaders, those members of the public that are working to be peacemakers in our communities. We need them to step forward. And Monday, while I was not picking out my clothes on Sunday, I generally wear a pretty pre-designed outfit. But on Sunday, I was looking forward to the Monday conversation, because yet it was another opportunity for this department to find ground in which, and strategies and advocates and people in our community that could step into a conversation of how to stem this violence. Today, we still are below our all-time highs, but Nipsey Hussle represents the enormity of the lives that we have lost. And I felt, as I looked at that message from LA Fire, that told me we had 3 additional shooting victims that had just occurred at Slauson and Crenshaw. And I began that message as I was reading it, standing on the street, exactly where I was at. And then I saw the name Nipsey Hussle, and I looked at that again, and I looked at it again, and it was like, I could not believe it. It was like, it just drove the added violence even that much more severe. So I am devastated with that, because this is a voice that was trying to help and was investing in his communities. But I'm also here with an air, because on that Sunday earlier that morning, I was at, with my wife, the New Christian Memorial Church in Pacoima, where Senior Pastor Sandra Croce stands as a bulwark of peace and of finding community safety. And I'm encouraged by that message that Sunday morning of renewal and of not giving up and finding hope. And today, I'm going to talk momentarily about where we're at on this investigation of the man we believe responsible for the killing of Mr. Hussle. But I'm also encouraged by what's happened since this shooting, what has continued over the weekend and into this morning. And that is the community coalitions, the Watts Gang Task Force, COCA, the Nation of Islam, faith leaders, community advocates, grid interventionists, preventionists have stepped up on double to not allow this to be hijacked by an individual who would want to exact further violence. I'm also thankful for the men and women of LAPD who have done on parallel course. They have investigated this and aggressively, relentlessly, utilizing witness statements, video evidence, crime scene investigation, and we have identified to this point, based on what we know, the individual we believe responsible, and I'm going to provide that information. But simultaneously, our men and women have been in our communities, not just on this shooting violence, this homicide, but other violence in 77th and in South Los Angeles to try to quell further acts. And they have been so while facilitating a vigil on what I believe is sacred ground. And last night, as we saw the night before, with such emotions and such high intensity of people grieving, we can see instances in which turmoil or altercations or fights will erupt. And I'm proud of the men and women of my department working with our faith and community leaders who have facilitated those and at the same time did their best work to provide for the safety. And last night was the most recent example, and today we have redoubled and gone back at this again to have this a community-led vigil. And for those that would attend, now and in the future, I just ask for you to bring peace. Bring peace. And not allow this sacred ground to be the site of any further violence. Now regarding where we're at on the homicide, and the tragic death of Nipsey. We provided a press account last night. Following our investigative efforts, we are currently working with the District Attorney's Office to seek the necessary information to obtain a warrant for his arrest. But we believe with probable cause and degree of certainty that on Sunday at about 3:20 in the afternoon, Nipsey with two other males were standing in front of his store, as has been reported. That Mr. Holder walked up on multiple occasions and engaged in a conversation with Nipsey and the others that were there. He left and then came back and subsequently came back armed with a handgun and purposely and repeatedly fired, striking and killing Nipsey Hussle, as well as striking and injuring the other two. One requiring them to be hospitalized or transported to a nearby hospital, the other suffering a wound but was treated at scene. Mr. Holder, we have identified him through, at this point, the available video evidence, statements, and information that we're getting from our community. And I cannot thank enough that the community is the one who is helping us solve this case. As in every case, it is the community's engagement that makes our lives safer, that provides justice for these victims and their families. Mr. Holder entered the passenger side of a 2016 Chevy Cruze. It's a white four-door vehicle. Its license plate is 7 Robert John David, that's RJD 742. And the vehicle was driven by an unidentified woman. That vehicle was located in the alley adjacent to that mini mall strip center where it fled from the scene. We have, as the mayor indicated, we continue to seek the public's help and assistance twofold. People that were at that scene or have information from people who were at that scene that can help identify further and provide us evidence of the persons responsible for this senseless murder. We ask that you call our South Bureau homicide detectives day or night. You also can use WeTip and Crime Stoppers and report anonymously. We're not done in gathering evidence on this horrific shooting. Secondarily, is we want the public to help us identify and apprehend Mr. Holder. Armed with a handgun, this senseless murder, this expression of violence, represents that this is a man who is of a substantial risk to public safety and willing to use violence. And we want to see that stop. And we need the public's help in identifying him and to Mr. Holder, who I am confident is watching this and is listening to these media accounts as this is spread not only around this region, but around this world. I ask him to surrender, to find a local law enforcement agency, to go to a station and surrender, and to defend himself as he feels appropriate, but to stop this mess, to stop this from continuing.
Ago, Eric Holder was taken from the Lakewood Sheriff's Station to downtown LA. 3 undercover cars with tinted windows and sirens blaring pulled out of the substation and sped off. It is now confirmed that the 29-year-old is in custody for murder. Identified as Eric Holder, the Los Angeles man officers have been looking for since the rapper was shot to death Sunday in Hyde Park. The LAPD put out an all-points bulletin just after midnight to be on the lookout for Eric Holder. Then, just after 1 o'clock today, authorities say a call came in from someone in the city of Bellflower. That's about 20 miles from the scene of Hussle's killing. A man who looks like Holder, the caller said, had been spotted on Artesia Boulevard. Deputies took Holder into custody there. He has now been transferred to the LAPD. In an LAPD tweet, big red letters are plastered over Holder's face. In custody, the LAPD announced Eric Holder, the suspected killer of Nipsey Hussle, has been arrested. The tweet reads, "Thank you to both our community for the heightened awareness and to our partners at the LA County Sheriff's Department." That's the latest live in front of the Sheriff's substation in Lakewood. I'm Michelle Geely. Back to you.
Well, reaction was swift, but also very subdued. I think people today are still more intent on paying respects to a man that they consider an icon. And it's a much different situation here at the corner of Slauson and Crenshaw. Behind my shoulder, you can see there are a lot of police officers, and there are very few mourners here because they are letting him in groups. Unlike yesterday, when it was just anybody who can fit into this tiny square was let in, that's not the case today. But first and foremost, it's been very, very organized. You'd never know that there was quite a scene here last night. And when I told people about the arrest, the reaction was swift.
Slow death, you know, you deserve that. You killed a role model, you killed a leader, you killed somebody that was trying to save your life. You know, what you did was out of jealousy, animosity, envy. Everything you did was unnecessary.
Reaction to the arrest of Eric Holder, the suspect in the murder of Nipsey Hussle. And for the most part, people waiting to pay their respects at the memorial were subdued.
Just so happy. Thank God.
You surprised you got him so quickly?
No.
Why not?
It took too long. I'm just happy. I don't want to talk.
No,
It's
no.
okay.
And for the most part, people waiting in this long line to get into the memorial didn't want to talk, at least not on camera. But their emotions, quite strong. The murder of Hussle had a tremendous impact on this community. At the corner of Slauson and Crenshaw, people kept coming by the hundreds. And then, just after 8 o'clock last night, this happened.
What's going on? Whoa, whoa, they're trampling people.
Police confirm someone in this massive crowd showed a gun and panic set in. And then when glass broke, people thought it was gunfire. It was not. Police said most of the injuries came when people were trampled. And this mess was cleaned up early this morning by members of the community. And no one was allowed to go anywhere near the crime scene. So just a little after 1 o'clock, they started letting the public come back and pay their respects, but in a much different fashion than the last couple of days. 25 at a time, allowed to walk in, police escort, and they're allowed 3 to 5 minutes, and then the next group came in. They were somber and they were quiet, and they waited in this long line patiently, and they reacted when I told them the news. The alleged killer has been caught.
It's a good thing, and I'm glad they did, and he's off the streets. We were praying for it and waiting for it.
Hopefully he knows what he's truly done, and I hope that he definitely receives the punishment he's supposed to get.
Back to the live shot, you can see what I meant. They're bringing them in groups at a time, 25 at a time under police escort. That is the next group that comes in. They're waiting in line very quietly, very patiently, just off Crenshaw. The line's about a block long, and they're getting anywhere from 4 to 5 minutes. Sometimes they get a little longer to pay their respects, take their pictures, drop their flowers, whatever they like to do. This is the new format that's going to take place as long as the people keep coming, I was told by the LAPD. This memorial will be open under this circumstance until 10 o'clock tonight, and then they'll reopen it again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So no more are you going to be able to just walk into this corner and just walk into this parking lot. There's a procedure now. It's working very, very well. So again, from 10 to 10, as long as the public keeps coming. Reporting live from the Hyde Park area, I'm Dave Lopez.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Brother Tony, let me ask you. Mr. Holder, the suspect has been captured. What is the talk on the ground? What are you feeling since he has been arrested? Is there any calm? I know he's an accused, not necessarily has gotten convicted. But what is the streets like now? Is it a little calming?
They're just still numb. You know what I mean? It don't take away the pain that they feel. You know, because in a real sense, they wanted to get, you know, but now that he's off the street, there's some calm. The family feels pretty decent about it. But the streets are still a little tight, but they're getting over it. Time, you know. So he's in the hands of the authority, but they're numb about it.
Yes, sir. And what did the FY do last night? I do see images by our brother Sherman, who accompanied you in FY yesterday, and I saw the brothers putting candles down. But what happened with the FY yesterday? In addition to keeping the peace,
Well,
I saw something personal happen.
Well, first of all, we got a call when we left the scene. Maybe 45 minutes after we left, chaos broke. So I get a call from the mayor and the chief of police begging us to come back. I mean, literally begging us, saying, look, no one can do this but the Nation of Islam. Would you come back? So we came back last night to see the man. And as a result of seeing it, we took candles and brought them and placed them, every FOI, placed them at the memorial of Nipsey, and vowing that the next day will not go like this day, the day before went.
Yes,
and
sir.
you should see it now.
Yeah.
Sad situation. The homie got killed due to jealousy. It wasn't nothing but jealousy and envy. It was a senseless murder. Nipsey was doing positive things in the community, trying to save lives, and for one of the people that he was trying to save to come back and kill him, it was nothing but jealousy and envy. So it's a sad situation. The world is gonna miss Nipsey, not just this neighborhood, but all around the world. I've known him since about 2003 when he was a youngster, since he was probably about 18, 19 years old. When I came home from prison, he was out here selling his CDs, so we sold CDs together. We had dreams of doing it big, and he did it big, and he left his niche on earth. We were in the business, we used to use the parking lot as our office before we even had an office in the building. So every day we would show up like we were at the office. So I've been there from day one. We started off selling CDs in the trunk of the car 16 years ago, and we just purchased the building, just bought the whole building. So it's been 16 years in the making. Me and Nipsey was talking, and the dude that shot him, he came and shook our hands, said he was a rapper and all this old bullshit. Shook our hands. The dude went and got his burger. He left. When he left, I went and took my food in. As soon as I took my food inside the building, the dude came back around the building busting. So I might have left Nipsey's side maybe 3 seconds. I left him maybe approximately about 3 seconds that I had left Nipsey, and the dude came and shot him. We know who he is. It's no mystery. There's no mystery. We know who he is. Like I said, it's all hate and envy. That's all it was. It was jealousy, hate, and envy. Nipsey didn't deserve to die like that. What seems to be a less talented rapper, had envy and hate in his eyes. That's what it was all about. It was nothing else. It was no motive. It was no beef. It was nothing. It was nothing but envy, hate. I hope when they catch him, I hope he gets a slow death. I don't want him just to die. He needs a slow death, So he affected many lives, His jealousy and his envy affected the world. You killed a good man, local guy, local enough that if he hit that parking lot, we put our guard down. He's one of us. Put our guard down. You know what I mean? Other than that, we wouldn't let anybody just up in our parking lot like that. We put our guard down because, like I said, he had just shook me and Nipsey's hand. Prior to that, he just shook our hand, just left, and he came right back and shot him. Like I said, it was jealousy. And to all Nip fans, all your fans, we miss Nipsey, but this tragic incident, what Nip will want y'all to do is to go harder. Whatever your dream is, continue to do it. Use Nip as your idol. Just keep your movement. Whatever your movement is, Nip will want you to continue to do it, So he influenced a lot of people to do the right thing, not to do the wrong thing. He influenced people to be positive. And for him to go out like this is sad. It's sad in the community. It's sad for the whole world.
Okay, let's heat things up. So, justice for Nipsey Hussle seems to already be going wrong. It's being reported that the Getaway Driver turned herself in to LAPD Tuesday afternoon, and by Tuesday night, she was set free. What type of silly mess is this, right? Well, according to this woman whose identity hasn't been revealed, she was the getaway driver for Eric Holder, the suspect that is currently being detained for the murder of Nipsey Hussle, but she is claiming that she did not know what Eric Holder had done. According to the LAPD, Eric Holder shot Nipsey and ran to the getaway car. So that means as law enforcement was racing to the scene of the accident, the suspect just cruised by them. Wow. It's hard to believe that she did not know anything, and for her to be set free that fast raises a lot of questions. Now, a few media outlets are claiming that Nipsey Hussle fans started their own investigation on social media, and they have identified the getaway driver, and she appears to be gang affiliated. And she allegedly deleted most of her tweets after the death of Nipsey Hussle. Weird, right? Now, according to TMZ, she could possibly be arrested down the line, but for right now, the getaway driver is free. This case is already starting off on the wrong foot, but let's hope that justice is served for Nipsey Hussle, because there is no way this lady should be walking free this early on in the investigation. And of course, I would love to know what you guys think about the getaway driver walking free so early on in this investigation. Do you believe her story that she did not?
Shooting death of rapper Nipsey Hussle marks 11 homicides in Los Angeles over just the past week. With Hussle's alleged killer now in custody, city officials say they're more determined than ever to address gun violence and inner-city gangs.
Joining us to talk about that and more is Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti. Mr. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Yesterday, you had appeared at this news conference with the police chief and other officials, and to speak to this issue of the ongoing violence.
Yes.
I think many people were not aware that there had been this surge in the month of March.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a tragic death of an incredible person like Nipsey to remind people that this is, even in record low years, and last year was the second lowest year of homicides in 50 years, that one death is too many.
Yeah.
We're down 20% in homicides this year, but victims shot is up a little bit, so we've just been lucky that there haven't been deaths. And it really requires not just more police, but also those community relationships. So we yesterday had pastors, religious leaders, community leaders, because that's the difference, that intervention and prevention, especially when crime spikes. And Nipsey was killed at a time when 11 people were killed just in that past week. And as I said yesterday, those are people with families, those are people with friends, those are people in a community that is grieving as well. And we need to remember them, make sure we bring those killers to justice too.
Yeah.
Can you also give us an update on the investigation, because we know the killers behind bars, that wasn't gang-related, that shooting, but something personal. What else can you...
It seems like a personal beef that this individual had with Nipsey. He had visited earlier, they had had words, and then he came back armed and killed him and injured his two friends that were there too. It's good that Mr. Holder's in custody, that the woman who was in the car turned herself in. She's been released now. But, you know, the evidence is obviously quite strong. I think that the police department feels strongly that this is the killer. He's just a suspect legally, though, and will be afforded all the legal procedures and rights that he has. But the district attorney now will take this case forward and hopefully bring some justice. But this was a great man. I mean, he was somebody who was really trying to turn his life around. We worked with him. He was trying to get more African Americans into technology, showing folks who had maybe been in gangs, how do you become an entrepreneur? How do you own something? And he came to the city asking for help, because if you have a conviction, it's tough to get a job, it's tough to get a loan. And he fought through those things, and ironically, as you heard yesterday, was coming in to meet with the president of our police commission and police chief Monday, the next day, to talk about how he could help others go on the journey he had been on.
Right. And we got a sense of the tension in that community the day after he was killed, when people gathered for that memorial for him, for the vigil, and then there was a threat of violence and people started scattering, many people injured there. You have a crisis response team that was involved there, along with another team, the Clergy Task Force. Right. Talk to us about those efforts.
These are the peacemakers and volunteers. It's 225 Angelinos who volunteer. There's a few that work for me directly, but they roll out over 430 times last year when there's a shooting, a child who's lost a parent, something tragic that's happened, whether it's a suicide during the fires. They're amazing angels in this city of angels. Some of them themselves have had loved ones who have been killed. One of the women who works for me, her boyfriend was killed in the San Bernardino shooting a few years back.
The Nipsey rumors? Man, y'all don't listen to no Nipsey rumors. Ain't no Nipsey rumors. All these niggas be on this bullshit. Internet, YouTubers.
Take exit 16 onto Lakewood Boulevard.
I love Nip. The crazy thing is, dealing with the Nipsey rumors is, none of these lanes can ever say that me and Nipsey had a problem. That's what it is. So, for y'all information.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Garcetti
Another thing, people talking about I'm jealous of Nipsey. How can I be jealous of somebody that I was helping put on? How could I be jealous of him? What I do is manage people. So that means I put other people on, dummies. And for your information, I wasn't just Nipsey manager. Nipsey was signed to me. I had a business contract with Nipsey Hussle, with Aries Astrodome, which I still have, signed to this day. So, where's the jealousy coming from? You know what I'm saying? But it's just that same Suge killed Tupac, what's the nigga name? Puffy killed Biggie. Well, I ain't killed Nipsey and had nothing to do with it because I wouldn't have benefited from Nipsey. I didn't have no business with Nipsey. Nipsey ain't signed to me, wasn't signed to me. I don't make no money off the Crenshaw shirts. I don't make nothing off nothing. I create my own. I do my own. And I created Nipsey. And I created Nipsey. And I created Nipsey. And secondly, I'm going to leave it like this. Nipsey friend or homeboy didn't kill Nipsey. It was a nigga that wasn't supposed to be in the hood that killed Nipsey. Period, point blank. Period, point blank. If you get fired from the post office and you come back and kill everybody at the post office, were you a member of the post office? No, you was an ex-employee of the post office. Clearly, they say Nipsey told the dude he couldn't be over there. So how was they friends? Nigga, your friendship ain't no friend. You gonna tell him he can't be around? But that's all I'm gonna say about it. I love cousin. I mean, he knew it. I talk to him every day, but that's the only reason I'm saying something. But I love my nigga though. We had our differences, but we got over it. When he got ready to push his music, he called me. He flew me to New York. He had me come listen to it. He had me come speak on this whole album. I was in the booth for 2 days going back and forth speaking on Nipsey album. So check your stats. Silly ass nigga.
I'm going to stay down. I'm going to go back here tonight. Stay right here, bro.
Don't let anybody out right now.
Only on to tonight, the first interview with Nipsey Hussle's grandmother since his brutal murder.
And our Jim Hill scores an emotional interview with LeBron James, the Lakers star nearly tearing up when talking about his friend Nipsey Hussle.
But first, let's go to our Tom Wade, who just spoke with the woman who helped raise Nipsey Hussle. Tom.
And Pat and Jeff, I can tell you that his grandmother is so gracious, so loving, and so kind, and it shows here in the community. Look at the support that Nipsey Hussle still continues to get 5 days after his death. Such a huge crowd, so much love, and it shows no signs of fading.
I never knew he was so much loved like I love him, so that's uplifting to see that so many other people loved and understood him.
Nipsey Hussle's 88-year-old grandmother says her broken heart finds some comfort in how her grandson touched so many people.
I hope these young people will get the message and live a better life. live a better life.
Margaret Boutte helped raise Hussle, whose real name is Ermias Ashkadom. Hussle talked about her in an interview with CBS 2 anchor Pat Harvey before this year's Grammys.
I was raised by my mom, grandma. She was real, just big on keeping a tight family and big on love.
Boutte was at home last Sunday when Hussle's brother got the call from Hussle himself that he had been shot.
He got the call and he ran out of here so fast. He never does that in the morning. He got the call and he ran out of here so fast. He never does that in the morning. He got the call and he ran out of here so fast. He never does that in the morning. Right away, I called his mother. I said, Angel, she's called Angelique, but I call her Angel. Something must have happened. I said, Samuel jumped up. He didn't take his shower. He got out of here so fast.
Samuel was racing to the marathon, Hussle's store, the place where he had been shot multiple times. Samuel would be there for his brother's last breaths.
Sammy got up there soon enough to start helping his brother. So Ermias knew Samuel was there before he died.
Hussle's accused killer got away, but not for long. Eric Holder was arrested Tuesday in Bellflower and arraigned yesterday. Motive for the murder is still unclear. Police are only saying the two had a dispute before the shooting. Incredibly, Hussle's grandmother had only these words for Hussle's accused killer.
I'm praying for him too. I hope he does not get killed in custody. Have enough time to ask God for forgiveness. I'm a Catholic. I do believe in prayers, and I'm praying for him. He was a young, ignorant situation, and I'm hoping he's sorry for what he did.
And such incredible words from a woman who is in so much pain. And again, out here, so many flowers, candles, and messages of support outside of the Marathon Nipsey Hussle store. The family is hoping to plan a big memorial that will accommodate thousands of people, but they have not finalized those plans. They'll also have a private service. Reporting live, I'm Tom Wade. Back to you.
He said that his spirit came out of his body. The medium told me that he told her that he chased Eric Holder, his spirit. His spirit chased after him like a superhero. He came out of his body, like he said, quickly, and there was pressure, no pain. And like a superhero, he was already chasing, But what did he do at first? He shook his hand. He was a gentleman first. My son was a gentleman.
Father Leo, that's Nipsey's grandfather. That's named after Nipsey's grandfather. So, how you doing, sir? Holding it down for the team, holding it down for the family. That's right. Appreciate the love. You guys came and showed y'all support with our presence out here. Organizing it, smooth everything.
Assalamu alaikum. My dear brothers and sisters, what a joy it is to be standing on sacred ground.
Yes, sir.
The man who made this happen is not just an ordinary man, because ordinary men don't think like he thought. Ordinary men don't do like he did. He was a man that God sent this way. And he rose up out of a culture that nobody would think that greatness would come out of. It's like the Bible says about where Jesus was born. Can any good come out of Nazareth? Can any good come out of the hood? And Nipsey answered and said, here am I.
Yes, sir. Come on.
Send me.
Out here supporting. Two bags, man. Shit, I came and made me a little pickup. What up, bro? What going on? Yes, sir. I'm on the way out. I'll be out there in 1 second. Let me finish. Love you back. Let me finish my order. I'll be out there in a minute. What's up? Who? Josh? What, tell a nigga he missed his flight. He be in the morning? All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, he grabbed me, bro. I think he did.
What do you want? Talking about the red and the blue?
Yeah.
Tell him shit, man. We got everything there is to have, man.
He said he got everything in here to have out there. Yeah, to the shed.
Walk down the sidewalk. We don't walk down the sidewalk.
All right.
We're gonna walk straight and go out down the sidewalk to the right. What bone at? Because the police go to that side anyway. They can't go that way. What bone at? So we're just going straight? We'll go to the left and then turn to the right.
We following y'all, bro.
Come on. Shit, man. We rolling behind y'all.
Come on.
What's up, G?
Come on. I'm trying to explain for a second.
All right.
Come on.
What's happening?
Come on, Tip.
What you did?
Go ahead.
Come on. Yeah, come on.
Right here, Chick. Back up.
We live 2039. First, America's first smart store in America with the, oh baby, this is my pen, my money. Pen verified. Thank you. You see what I said? Well, thank you too, baby. There you go. Yeah, first smart store with the smart store payment from the smart store phone with the smart money. Yeah, well, let me see.
And your shirt got videos on it, your bag got videos.
Yeah, and my shirt and my got your videos and all that. Yeah, proud to pay. Put me on the proud to pay list. Yeah, put me just like Jay-Z. Jay-Z spent $10,000, I spent $1,400, man. So I got it. Yeah, got the streets, no record deal. I ain't signed to nobody but myself. It's called entrepreneurship. You can do it too. All right, come on. Go ahead. You should get you, that's live too, like this is nice, but I'm just saying, you should get you a crystal jacket to match the babes. Have something to put out with the babes. Boom. Bingo. You ain't gonna really know. I wish you did like boom.
Oh, that blue is pretty.
Oh,
For sure. My God.
got cars, 10 bitches, $50 cars. It'll make you go walk with a white man and bring me some gold.
Man, look now, y'all. But your package on the way.